B, and welcome to the very first edition of Taters and Shrimps on the Barbie. My name is Craig Jamieson. I'm coming to you from Boise, Idaho, USA, land of famous potatoes. So I would be the tater. And I'm also joined by Mr. Potato Head right behind me here. But my co host from Queensland, Australia, who would be the shrimp on the Barbie, starting to make sense now, is Ross Keating. So, Ross, please introduce yourself and tell the folks a little bit about your background before we get going here.
Yeah, hi, Craig. Hey, really awesome to be here with you today. And hi, folks. Delighted that you've been able to join us. And we're excited, and I'm really excited to be able to talk about things about CRM. But Taters and Shrimps, we thought you might recognize the word shrimps and have a bit of controversy, because here in Queensland we don't have shrimps, we have prawns. They're big. We have tiger prawns, we have banana prawns, we have green prawns, we have even cooked prawns, and we have raw prawns. So we have all those, but just for the sake of the argument, we went with Taters and Shrimps on the Barbie to reflect our lifestyle. And I'm on the Gold Coast, and I've been doing business consulting for about 17 years, working with variety of businesses of all sorts. And what I really find the whole time is that it all comes back to customers. Getting more leads, prospects become customers, but customers are always prospects. And that's what I think my conversation going forward over these next few months, while we do these sessions every fortnight or bi-weekly, will be about, from my perspective. So delighted to be here, Craig, and thanks for joining me. It's a great opportunity for us.
Well, I think it'll be fun, Ross. So, I've lived here in Boise for the last 40 years. I'm originally from Canada. Kind of grew up in Los Angeles. I started my professional career in retail management in 1977. I decided that I wanted to get into the business to business world and went on as a sales trainee for a national company where I was peddling, among other things, very expensive calculating equipment door to door on the streets of Los Angeles. And that's what actually got me up here to Boise. So, I spent my whole life in sales. So I'm kind of, Ross is really well rounded. I mean, he does the business consulting aspects and the planning and everything. I'm kind of the one trick pony here. My background is just about entirely in sales and sales management, with probably 85% of that time in sales management, which included ownership positions, but I was always over the sales department. My passion is selling. And so that will be most of my contribution to these sessions here. But, we're going to be holding these, as Ross said, we're going to be doing these every 2 weeks. We're going to talk about a lot of different things. And it'll be really helpful for you folks, too, if you leave comments on things that you'd like to maybe for us to explore, leave comments in the appropriate place. And maybe we can integrate those into future sessions. But we'll be talking about CRM. We're going to talk about CRM today. Both Ross and I are solution partners for Nimble CRM. But we're going to talk about CRM in general. We're going to talk about sales. We'll talk about marketing, which is something that Ross is a little bit more active in than I am, and certainly much more successful than I am. I call marketing the dark arts. Talk about business plans, process, social networking, social selling, how you can integrate that, and then also marketing. So, but today our discussion is going to be just, real general here on some of the reasons why you think your business might be a CRM. And if you're not familiar with what it is, I mean, I'll just give you a quick little background here. I've used CRM actually since the 1980s, the late 80s. I started off on a DOS-based program that was called Telemagic. Back then, we called them contact managers, and then since then, it's developed into customer relationship management. But Ross will define that a little bit closer. And then we're also going to talk about the unfortunate reality is that so many CRM initiatives, implementations, when they're put in, end up as abject failures. I mean, it's just terrible. I mean, if I mean, if you were in sports, I mean, you'd be kicked off the team. If you were the coach, you'd be gone. I mean, it's just really bad. But there's certain things you can do, to help minimize that and have a successful implementation and get the benefits that can be realized from CRM. So, Ross, why don't you go ahead and define it for us and give us some reasons why businesses might want to consider this, and I'll fill in when you're done with my thoughts.
Well, Craig, defining what a CRM is, I mean, people are using spreadsheets. That can be classed as, they use it quite effectively. They have all the rows and columns, put the data in there. That's a CRM. You could go back to the old-fashioned Rolodex that some people might remember, but that was a CRM of a kind. But if we use that CRM in the terminology, customer relationship management system, always remember when we mention CRM as customer relationship management systems, strategies, and processes. And CRM is very much, it's not a magic bullet, and it's not just a system. If you have an application or software, it's never going to work by itself. It's not a magic bullet. You have to think about it. So the CRM, customer relationship management, what is it? What type of tool is it? Is it just a contact management tool? Is it one that you put your follow-ups and your notes in, so you remember? I mean, John Ferrara, the CEO of Nimble, frequently reminded, says, Robin Dunbar back in the 30s said, 1930s, that a human can only handle 150 relationships at any given time and remember all the details. Now, we've got far more than 150. I don't know about you, but I've got about 2,500 people in my CRM database at start. I've got another 2,500 followers on LinkedIn, and plus the Twitter and the Facebook. So how do I remember all those issues? Who I want to contact and go back to? So a CRM is that. Is it marketing automation? Is it workflow automation? What are those things? So those are the type of things I want to talk about and look at, because a CRM, it has to work for you, not the other way around. You shouldn't have to be forced to use CRM. It has to show you really good benefits from that. Great.
So, and I might mention here too is, we're talking in generalities right now. In future sessions, when we hold these every 2 weeks, or as Ross likes to say, a fortnight, which I had to look up, we'll be going into these in much more detail. But, when I first started out, you talk about a Rolodex being a CRM. I started off, I had a shoebox with separators in it that said A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then it had the months, and then it had the days of the month and everything, and it was a tickler file, and that's how we kept on top of everything. I'd come back after making 30 cold calls a day. I'd write the information down on a note card. I'd staple the business card there, and I'd put it for the next time that I was supposed to be in contact with these people. That was CRM back in the old days. But I'll tell you a funny story here. One of the things that I also do is I provide certain assessments to people, and Ross does also a different product than I do, and he'll be talking about that in a couple of weeks. But it's a sales assessment for myself, selling skills assessment, and it asks you a variety of different questions, and they're multiple choice, and you pick the best answer. And one of the questions was, what does the CRM do? And one of the options that I could select was, it helps you to sell more. And I got it wrong. And I'm like, how can I possibly get this wrong? And the correct answer was, it manages contact information. So silly me, I'm thinking about the benefit of CRM, and they're thinking about the feature and the function of it. So that's the bottom line, is that CRM, from a sales standpoint, where I come from, it helps you to sell more. And that's what salespeople love, is selling more. I mean, obviously, that's what we do for a living here. But, it keeps you on track. It keeps you on organized. Just like my tickler file would tell me 2 weeks from now, I'm supposed to be in front of somebody CRM does that with reminders. It does that with setting tasks, all of that. So it keeps me on track. It also keeps me organized. Now, as a salesperson, I know what our files look like. It's a mishmash of scraps of paper, notes on the back of gum wrappers, post-it notes and everything, and trying to find anything is like hell. I mean, you just can't do it. But now everything is right there within that contact record. I can take it with me when I'm in the field, the mobile applications, everything. But the best part of that is that it allows you to be better prepared for the next call. So it's not a matter of, I've never been one of those people, you need to make more calls, you need to make more calls, you need to make more calls, you need to make better calls. I can refer back to my notes, I can refer back to what we've done up until that particular point before I make that next call, and that's a better call. And it's more effective because when I contact that person, I think Ross gave me an example the other day where, he called the guy back up and said, so how did that cement pour go that you were talking about the last time we talked? And the guy's like, you remember this? Well, of course I have a photographic memory. I also have a CRM, which allows me to go back and look at my notes. So it's better versus more. As a result, you're going to exceed your customer expectations. And that's really what it is. It's that leg up there, being able to accurately predict your revenue, through pipelines. I used to keep pipelines on paper, where I knew every deal that I had going. I knew what stage I was in the deal. It's all a matter of process. And when we talk about process, which I think is another incredibly important thing, a deal pipeline, an opportunity pipeline is a process. It says it goes from here to the next stage is here, to the next stage is here, the next stage is here. Nimble, for example, has deal pipelines. It also has workflows, which are another type of process, where a common one for a salesperson would be a lead qualification workflow. The best thing about having a process is that if it's a proven process to deliver results, it can be replicated as long as you follow the process. So it lays it out very nicely, easily to see. And you'll see this in other CRMs too, not just Nimble. It's nothing like magic. But if you follow that process, your chances of actually securing this sale increase dramatically. And I might also add that if you bring on a new hire, you bring on somebody new that has absolutely no idea of how your business operates or how to sell your product or your service, whatever it is, you're providing them with a roadmap. You're saying, well, if you do this and then you do this and then you do this, there's a higher likelihood that you're going to actually secure the sale. So I think that's also incredibly important, for CRM. So, but by the same token, so many projects fail. So, Ross, what's been your experience?
Well, it's most of the time it's been successful because I'd like to say I've been involved with it, but I see them so often. Yeah, I know that your ones are too. But I just wanted to think about, you're talking about the benefits, and you were talking about able to scale your business with a roadmap for staff and processes. If you can do that, that means you can scale your business, you can grow your business. That's a significant business because a lot of small businesses can't scale because they don't document their systems and processes, and that's where a CRM really helps. Now, just a couple of other little benefits that come back out of there. Statistics show that 60% of users said that their CRM helps improve the customer satisfaction. And we know if customer satisfaction leads to more sales, more loyal customers, repeat customers. A CRM return on investment equates to, based on research, for every dollar you spend on a CRM, you get a $5 return in the business. 60% of small businesses are using a CRM from email marketing. So that's email marketing, but email marketing is not necessarily marketing automation. And nurtured leads spend 47% more. So if you nurture the customers and the prospects, that's documented to show 47% more. And just one other stat that I'd love to give for people who want to be convinced. When a customer buys from you 2 or more times, they are 45% more likely to to buy from you again. If they bought 3 times, they're 54% more likely. Who do you want to go and get your salespeople to keep on coming back to get more sales? I would suggest do that. But if you're looking at, why they fail, one is the management is not involved. They think it's a magic bullet. It is not a magic bullet. You have to say, what's the benefit? What are my really problems I'm trying to solve? How do I get them involved? So the management has to take it. And also the other part of that, when management get involved with CRM, they want to have a big brother approach. It's going to give you the information, like, and make them more productive. Yes, you will make your staff and employees more productive. But what you want to do is you want to benefit them by being more productive. It means that you will get a bigger bang for your marketing buck. You will get more sales. They will close more, as Craig said, they will close more sales from the same amount of leads. That's an effective marketing. Your cost of leads is going down because you don't have to get so many. You just have to convert more. But you've got to get the staff involved. Craig was giving me an example of a business where they weren't involved. I had one where they wanted to reboot the CRM project and get them to use it because they'd spent a lot of money doing it. They had something like 7 or 8 people involved. And one of the staff said, no, I'm not going to share my information with them. And we said, well, what about if you get sick? How are you going to, who's going to look after your customers and your prospects and make sure you don't lose that opportunity to get the sales commission at the end of the quarter? But if you could pass it over to one of the other team members and you could see what they did when you came back, wouldn't it be easier for you to build the reputation? And after 4 months of using the CRM, that person said, I'll share, but don't take the CRM away from me. It's just, you got to give them what's in it for them. One of the biggest things is dirty data, rubbish data, garbage in, garbage out. And that is, people use the same thing. They don't want to spend the time cleaning because CRMs these days are relatively cheap. Once it used to cost $20,000 to install the puppy, not alone the hardware. So you have to, people think it's cheap, therefore it's easy. You still have to go through the process of getting the data right, get the right data, put it in the right formats, and get it in. Because the sales team and your customer service teams won't use it if it's wrong, and they will just update dirty data, or they won't use it effectively, and you'll go back to wasting your money. Get that data right, and it'll do it. And get the people involved. Give them incentives to get the data right. Just quick ones. I've used, movie pictures, tickets and theatre tickets, dinners, and all that type of stuff. Do those type of things. Have a project plan. Get the needs analysis. People want everything and they want it now. Work on the 80-10-10 rule. 80%. You must have 80% of your needs satisfied on the day that the CRM goes in. Then what could go to the next 10%? What could they be? And can they wait 3 months or more? 3 to 6 months. Will the boat really fall over if you don't have them in 3 to 6 months? And the last 10% are going to be so customizing the system that you will spend so much money that you will blow the budget. You will make it so unworkable, you might as well stay with the old system and you will get the same results. So they call it 80-10-10. So those are some of the reasons, Craig. We haven't got all day on that. So otherwise, I'm going to talk all day.
The funniest thing, and you just brought it up right there, Ross. CRM isn't complicated. It really isn't. I tell people that 90% of CRM is a contact record. I mean, that's the heart of any CRM. That's where all the activity is. That's where all the record is. That's where you've got all your notes. It's going to make it so much better when you make that next call. It's going to keep you on track and everything. If you can do that, the rest is gravy. But, what I found is certainly, once again, working with salespeople, you get a lack of user buy-in, right? Well, for one reason, they're usually not brought in early enough, to talk about why we're thinking about a CRM and what do we need it to do for us and everything. So it's kind of like, they get the memo that says, oh, by the way, we bought a CRM, we've invested in a CRM, and your training starts Monday and you're expected to do it. And, you get that automatic kickback from that. People are like, well, wait a minute, nobody asked me about this. So that's a problem. Another thing too is, I hate to say this, and once again, I can say this, and if I'm offending any salespeople out there, I can only say this because I am a salesperson. I identify as a salesperson. I revel in being a salesperson, right? We don't like record keeping and we don't like data entry. I mean, that's it. I mean, it comes down to that, selling's fun, selling is where I make my money. We all hate paperwork, so there's that automatic, that hesitancy. Hey, this is just something more on my plate without seeing the benefit of CRM. So that's one of the things that you have to overcome. They also, a lot of times they'll look at it and say, Ross touched on it. Well, you can't have my data. I'm not going to share my data. Well, I hate to say this, but it's the company's data. I hate to break the news to you, but it's going to allow you to service the customer better. You're on Safari in the Amazon or whatever, and you don't have cell service, whatever, and your customer has a major problem, and nobody can get a hold of you. You want your customer to be taken care of because it's the company's customer besides your customer. But they look at it and say, well, the sales manager is going to be looking over my shoulder. Well, shame on the sales manager if they're doing that. I mean, I want to use the data in the CRM, like the deals and the pipelines and that type of thing, to help you to sell more product. Me personally, I'm not interested in how many cold calls you make a day. I could care less. I'm concerned about your ratios, that you're getting the right amount of hits for the number of deals that you're involved in. So, but there's that perception. Salespeople have that perception, and an intrusion, on their turf. But the fact of the matter is that, if they recognize, if the sales department, the marketing department recognizes the benefits that it helps them to sell more, it helps them to service their customers better, you're going to overcome some of that. But that's a discussion that should be held prior to the actual CRM being introduced. Some other reasons, can be maybe you got the wrong CRM, I mean, some are extremely easy to use, some are extremely difficult to use. And I would say that when you look at the size of your business, that's probably in a lot of cases going to dictate the types of CRMs that you want to look at. There's certain CRMs that are designed for enterprise level companies, and they have a lot of bells and whistles, and you got a full-time administrator that's going to be taking care of the back end on this thing, and you've got all these things going because you got 10,000 salespeople spread across the country. Right. But that's not to the small business or the micro business, whatever. So you want to make sure that it's simple enough to use and that it's configured properly too, to meet your specific needs. There's a lot of customizations that can be done with any CRM that'll make it specific to your particular needs. And then you've got, training. You got to have the right training. And that's, ideally what people come to Ross and myself for. Incidentally, if you'd like to talk to us about that, there is a link down on the bottom there on that ticker tape where you can get 30 minutes with either of us to discuss your particular needs. But you got to have good training. Salespeople, anybody that's using a CRM too, let's face it, change for anybody is uncomfortable. Nobody likes change, right? So you have to give it time. Start off with the simple things, and build from there. Once you use it enough, those things become reflex, but it takes a while to build up that muscle memory. And I'm talking muscle memory in your fingers and between your head that, now I need to do this. Oh, I'm going to take a quick note. I'm going to put it in here. But it takes time. So don't just get in there and say, this is too difficult for me to do. It'll never work, right? I'd give up right now. No, give it the time. But then finally, and Ross touched on this, there's got to be support, and I think there's got to be accountability coming from management too, to see this thing through and make sure that it is a successful implementation. So, hey, that's about all I had for today, Ross. I mean, our next session is going to be the single source of truth, a unified database. We'll be talking about that. So I will say thank you so much for sitting in today, and we really appreciate it. And please, once again, leave us any comments on any specific topics that you might like to see addressed. And Ross, I'll let you take us out.
Okay, thanks very much, Craig. And I hope everybody gets something out of this. If you've want more information, don't hesitate to give either Craig or yourself a call. You can contact us at any time, just using these links that have been on the banner. And obviously, it'll be there. If you just message us, if you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever we may be, look us up and contact us directly. We're happy to provide that 30-minute chat without charge. But it's been a fantastic day. I'm probably going to head down to the beach because this is the Gold Coast.
Yeah, right. It's freezing cold here.
and as we say, it's going to be 30 degrees. As you say, it's going to be the late 80s, early 90s.
Oh, it's going to be 30 degrees, but it's going to be Fahrenheit here. That's the high.
So that's why I live on the Gold Coast. If you ever want to make contact, thank you very much, Craig. It's great to be setting up this taters and shrimps on the Barbie, and I might have some prawns later on today.
All righty. Thanks, Ross. Thanks, folks.
Thanks. Bye, everybody. Have a fantastic day, each and every day.